So today we're going to be discussing online projects about women in chess. So we've got a variety of speakers with us here today. So Jennifer Shahade, the director of US Women's Chess, Adia Onyonga, a chess teacher and player also from America, Bianca from the chair of the Dutch Federation, Polona Otia from the Swedish Chess Federation, Teresa Muniz, General Secretary of Catalan Chess Federation, and Lily Han from the German Chess Federation. So it's great to see so many people here, and just a bit about the structure for today. How it's going to work is we're going to start with an interview with Jennifer, just because she won't be able to stay the whole time to hear what she has to say. And then from then on, we're going to have each of the panelists give us a brief introduction into what they've been doing, and then open it up from the questions to the floor. If that works for everyone. If that's good, I think we'll start then with a couple of questions for Jennifer. You want to?
Hi, everyone.
So during this online pandemic, I think you've set up this online girls club with weekly Zoom meetings. Is that right?
Yeah, in fact, we do sometimes things 2 or 3 times a week, especially in the beginning of the pandemic when outside activity was very limited. And now again, we're ramping it up because, okay, there was a brief period in the summer where kids were a little bit busier, but again, our offerings are just turning out to be, I think, a solace for people as a lot of their social interactions are limited.
And so with these Zoom meetings, what do they do? Are they lessons or games? How do you structure them?
We started out mostly with lessons, but we try to structure it. One of the problems is that you really want, in my opinion, to get a big turnout for these Zoom meetings for girls in chess. And the reason for that is that I think it's as much of a social opportunity to motivate when the Zoom is over, and also to meet with other girls of a similar age and rating level. And it feels like just like a party and really fun when there's a lot of people there. I also think that it's really great if a lot of people have their cameras on, but that's like a numbers game. If you have 50 people in the Zoom meeting, you're probably going to have about a third that put their camera on. So then the entire front page is all cameras, which is really cool. So one of my goals has been to just get a lot of people there. And that means you need to design a lesson that, appeals to a wide range of ratings. So we try to make it like a social and cultural event as much as just pure chess instruction. Usually the range we end up hitting is between 1,000 and 1,800, which sounds like a very wide range. But again, the people in the lower end are often excited to try to get a little better. And then the people on the higher end are usually excited to, participate in the Q&A afterwards and sometimes mentor the people who aren't quite following. So yeah, it works out pretty well. And we've had some wonderful guests. Every week we have someone new. And I guess it's been almost 30 weeks now, maybe, since we've been doing it since April, maybe 25 weeks. So we've had, all the top American players, Irina Krush, Tatev Abrahamian, the youngsters, Carissa Yip, Jennifer Yu. We've had some international guests, Sabrina Chavanez. We've had Anna Rudolph, Alexander Botez. We didn't have Andrea yet. Gary Kasparov even came a couple weeks ago to talk about his work on the Queen's Gambit. So yeah, we've had great guests, and we've kind of branched off into also sometimes doing tournaments. And the way we do the tournaments, I think is other coaches do that in America, I've heard, but I think it's been really useful. What I'll do is we'll have a tournament and I'll tell the kids to mute me. And sometimes we have Sabrina or Adia joining in. And then we'll do commentary while they play. So they can then download the file afterwards and listen to what we were saying about their games. And we don't make that public. That's just private for the kids themselves.
That all sounds really good. And you were saying with numbers as well, do you find you're getting an increase in numbers because you're not limited by location now? You can get more girls, or do you find you don't actually get as many as you would in an in-person tournament?
Well, no, I guess it depends on the in-person tournament. Of course, if we're at the Super Nationals, we're going to have a lot of girls flowing in. But what I've been most excited about, honestly, and I think will forever change my opinion on how to, work on retention in chess and women is that we've gotten a lot of teens and preteens. And that's because I think it's kind of like their home, being in this like online format where they can chat and make friends. It's like, it's very suitable for them, and they get to find other preteens and teens around their age that are in the group. Whereas in live tournaments, it seems that there's a bigger focus on the little kids. So I've been extremely excited about the fact that we seem to be reaching a lot of teens and preteens. And so I think like even after the pandemic is over, I'll keep doing the online classes because we need to retain the teen girls, you know.
And aside from retention, do you find you're getting any new girls joining who wouldn't have previously joined? Or is it more just kind of keeping the girls who are already active during this pandemic?
I think we're getting new people. I mean, what we do outreach via like our US chess mailing list, which is, has a gender category, which is very, very useful. A lot of companies, I think, don't have that anymore. But it's very, very nice to be able to reach all the female members. We do have a core group. I will say that like a lot of people, have joined and just love it and keep coming. And since I'm talking about this 1,000 to 1,800 range, I feel like we've really contacted those people many, many times, and many of them are joining. We have, ever since the Queen's Gambit, we started reaching out to grownups more, because I feel like grown-up and adult education is also very important now, because it's really lonely for people who are extroverted and haven't been able to like go out and have drinks or go to parties during the pandemic. So a lot of grown-up women are now attending some of our events, which include beginners lessons for women. And we have something called the Mad Woman's Book Club, which is a group where we read a book that is either about chess in some way or tangentially related, but no like hardcore chess analysis. And, the idea is that women can kind of connect over these intellectual themes. So that's gone really well. We had hundreds of women sign up for it. And finally, I guess our other program that's innovative is the Kenya US Chess Girls Initiative. So Pontus Carlson, Grandmaster from Sweden, and Judith Kiragu, who's a wonderful chess organizer from Kenya. She's the director of the Lighthouse Chess Club. We've all partnered to do chess lessons where the Kenyan girls meet up with the US girls. So it's like a cultural exchange program as well as a lesson. So we do a combination of lessons and playing, and we learn about each other's culture. Like they taught us like some Swahili using like the chess pieces, and we also bring in special guests for that. And that's been really great because, chess is one of the few things that you could do something like that with, where you could have a call from halfway across the world and, interact and have fun for like, a couple hours. Right. So those four are like the cornerstones of what we're doing right now.
Thank you so much. That was really insightful. I know you can't stay with us for long. So if there's any other final points you want to like say or any advice you'd give to people setting up these themselves, but if not, thank you so much for coming in today.
Yeah, I would go back to my initial advice. And I've talked to some people about this in Europe. I think some organizers, the US, obviously we're a big country, but I would think about the consideration of like maybe partnering with a few different countries if you have trouble getting a lot of people, because again, I think that the idea of having a big core group, so it feels more like a party and less like a lesson, is really valuable. So, and that's kind of like the opposite of what we often go for in like real life education, where you go for like a small group so that everybody can have individualized attention. I found that having like a large group is just like super fun, and everybody wants to come more if you do that. So
okay, thank you.
And if anybody has any questions for me in the chat, I'm probably going to turn my audio off, but you can feel free to like reach out to me in the chat. And also I should probably point out that we have started archiving lessons on YouTube, so you can kind of get a sense of what we've been doing. Because Zoom offers active speaker mode, we found that it's a little easier with the privacy controls. Like in the beginning, I was very nervous because I didn't want like this grid view of all the children showing up on screen with their names. But, and I know in Europe you have very, very strict privacy controls. But if you use active speaker mode, it's only going to record the teacher's voice, and then you can kind of edit around it much, much more easily than if you don't turn on that mode and you just have like the recording the whole grid. That's going to be like a nightmare, because then you're going to have to like blur all the children or get everybody to sign off. But you could consider using active speaker mode, and then you'll have an easier time creating content around it and still like honoring all of your privacy obligations.
I think there's a question here in chat for you. Do you know if the Cairns Cup is still planned for February?
I do not know at the moment. I don't know. But I obviously I'm really excited about the idea of the third Cairns Cup. It even puts a smile on my face just to think of it. It's this elite women's event that had 2 editions in St. Louis in 2019 and 2020. It was the last live event I was at in 2020. So, I'm sure they're going to end up doing something. I would hope so. Yeah, I will. I'm sure I'll keep you posted. You can always follow me on social media, and I'll definitely post when I find out about that. And I'll also put that link into the playlist in the chat in case anybody wants to see what we've been up to. Otherwise, yeah, I'm probably going to turn my camera and mic off, but I'm going to stick around a little bit to hear what everybody else has to say. So yeah, thanks so much, Alice.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. So if that's all, we'll probably move on to Lily, if that's okay, if you'd like to give us a brief introduction into what you've been doing.
Yeah, after the States is always a bit difficult to speak because they're doing so much great work at the moment, actually. So we have also moved on to organizing some of the online events. And I think what we found out for girls, so we did like the normal stuff, mainly tournaments, I have to say, more than coaching, because the coaching we left up to the clubs to do. But we organize tournaments online, and in our experience, I think it works out best if you make kind of an event out of it, where you again have like this social atmosphere for the girls. So rather than just having like a regular, I don't know, like 3 times a week blitz tournament, we tried to make bigger tournaments, but like less often. So I guess the biggest one was like this international tournament we had with like 10 countries. Well, not 10 countries, but 10 groups participating. So some countries paired together if they were like too small. And I think it was quite a success because we had nearly 800 women participate. So it was a 2-round tournament. And again, I think it was an event in terms of it was advertised really big, and we had like live commentary in several languages happening. And I think there also, because it was like in groups rather than individual tournaments, we had like this team atmosphere. Which worked really nice. I also think for our tournaments, like for some of the general tournaments, we have had troubles with the chat, I have to say, but for the girls tournament, there's a lot of spam going on. If you're an organizer, I call it spam, but just the girls being incredibly social on there, I guess. So that has been our experience with online tournaments there. We also tried another initiative because we didn't want to make everything like international, where we had like a tournament like of generations. So we had the under 18s challenge the over 18s, so women's versus girls. We also had 2 rounds of that, and that was taken out really nicely. And now moved on to also trying to do other things rather than chess to keep it social. So for example, just have like an online games night, playing other things than chess. So it was actually organized by one of our counties rather than the German-wide thing. And they played things like Among Us, these kind of games, just again, to like get a sense of community going for this. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much. There are some questions there, but I think what we might do is go through all the sort of projects first and then take questions after that, so they can all, because I'm sure all our speakers could give answers to lots of these questions and might want to give some insights. So then next, if we could move on to Bianca, she could maybe give us some insights what they've been doing.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Alice. Well, as a brief commentary, I just started last week as the chairman of the Dutch Chess Federation. So my history in these projects is not so great yet. I know a bit what's been going on in the Netherlands, but not all. With the Chess Queens Foundation in the Netherlands, we did a lot of things for girls in the COVID times. A bit like Lily, what she was saying, like a weekly tournaments for girls, for women, make it like a special cup kind of thing, a Grand Prix we call it. Not so much lessons because the individual trainers do that in the Netherlands more than by the Dutch Federation. And for the rest, a lot of focus on children in primary school. So not only girls, but boys and girls both, because we try to let boys and girls from the age of 6 to 9 play chess. Well, at least if they want to, but that it is offered in schools, and that's a big success as well. So these children join an online chess club, and then we hope they stick around. So that's about it.
Okay, thank you. And then if Teresa, if she's here, you could give us a few words on what she has been doing in the Catalan Chess Club.
You hear me well? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, Teresa from Catalan Chess Federation. We also have done a lot of online tournaments. Thank you to Lily, because we had a very nice one with all different countries around Europe, and all the girls want to do again this tournament. It was really nice and really good atmosphere. We also did another chess tournament for women, in which all the benefits went for the Bassini and for a hospital here in Barcelona. It was a really nice tournament also. And we also are promoting in the schools the visibility of women. We used to, every year, a grandmaster used to go to the schools, and this year we want to put a woman, because we used to do with men. And also now, in 1 week, we will do a special day in which we will have simultaneous with Antoneta Stefanova. Then we will have a master class only for women, different ages, but only for women. And then a lunch, if the conditions allow us to celebrate, with all the security. We will have the distance and the bubble groups. And after, we will do a streaming in which we want to listen the girls and the women. You are all invited, and have this feedback and see which is the situation. As Jennifer mentioned, with the Queen's Gambit, we have a lot of requests of interviews, and we had the opportunity to go in each home, no? in every home, and do this visibility with women. So that's our 3 main ways.
Okay, brilliant, thank you. That was really interesting. So next, if Paulina is on the call and would like to say a few words. I can't see her in the list of participants here, but if she's not here, we can just move on to Adia but I'm not sure if she is here and would like to say a few words on what she's been doing also in the US. But if not, I think that was all the speakers. So we're going to start a discussion then, and I want to kick it off with a question for all of you. Just some practical advice you might give for others looking up to set things off. What did you find worked best in terms of platforms? Did you use Lichess, Zoom, chess.com? How would you advise people to create these groups? Lily, I think you did yours on, was it Lichess? How did you find that?
Yeah, so I guess like I was looking at double. So like all the women's tournaments we played on Lichess, just because it's like a free and easy to use. We also, as a federation for the women's events, used other things like ChessBase, because at the beginning, at least, there was no Swiss mode available in Lichess. So it depended a bit what kind of tournaments we're planning to do. I do think Lichess is still the easiest to use in terms of like people that are not super familiar with chess, like again, like young girls or people that just play for fun. I think that's a very popular one to use. But again, we did have technical issues during the first round of the big tournament when everything crashed, I guess. But that was the only time we ever had major issues with Lichess. And so I think that's like our preferred website for using this. I think in the end, it doesn't really matter. What I would recommend is to just choose one page and stay on it, because otherwise you have to create the teams everywhere. And that was by far the biggest work we had to do at the beginning, to kind of make sure that our girls teams are actually girls teams and not just like lots of random guys and boys joining.
So how did you check that they were actually girls? Did you require some sort of verification, like sending on their like FIDE numbers, or was it just sort of anyone?
I guess like a mix. We did check that people had to send us their real names and email addresses to verify, but we did not require a FIDE number, because our idea for these tournaments was to also get people that usually don't play. And these will be people that don't have a FIDE number. And I guess you can only control to a certain degree. Even if I asked for real names and email addresses, people can sign up as wrong people. But again, I think this is something you just have to discuss with the people you're playing tournaments with. We discussed at the beginning with the other federations on how strict this should be done. And if they're happy that we do it like this, it'll be open for more people. But of course, there is a risk that people like sneak in there who shouldn't be in there. And I think people, because it was a casual tournament, were happy with that solution. So that's how we decided to go for it.
Okay, great, thank you. Do either of the other panelists or anyone have any comments on sort of platforms to use and how to make sure people are actually who they say they are?
Yeah, from Catalan Chess Federation also agree with Lily. Lichess is easy to use than other platforms. And for the tournaments under 18, what we choose also is Zoom, like we are doing now this conference, because sometimes we have to put the camera in the front and in the back, just to be secure that they are not doing any kind of, So yeah, mainly Lichess, chess.com, also with Chess25, we have some agreements. So these three are for us the main platforms we use.
Okay, thank you. We have a question here in chat. Are there any federations or organizations who stream regularly and have a special program to attract girls to chess? So I know you guys all have your tournaments and stuff, but are you aware of any federations doing regular streams?
I think the US are by far the most regular. So we know actually from looking at the numbers that regularity is super important for getting people. So for example, we see this even with our social media posts and stuff. If there's a time we don't post for a long time and we restart again, we have like less people reach at the beginning. So I think that's like the ideal situation, but sometimes we just lack people to do it with volunteers, I guess. And yeah, so I think like by far, to my knowledge at least, the US seems to be the most regular with their girls' room. I mean, 3 times a week and one special for girls sounds absolutely amazing. But yeah, we don't have capacity with volunteers to do this, I guess.
Okay, so if anyone has any more questions, feel free to put them in chat. But if not, I have another question here for them. So just in terms of practical advice again for promoting these events, I know US Chess was talking about having a special list. Do you have email lists, or is it done through Facebook, Instagram, social media? How did you get the words out? Email? Again, to all three of you or anyone who wants to.
Yeah, for us, Blanca, you will, okay.
No, go ahead.
Okay. So for us, yeah, special social media. Also, we have a Benchmark to send all the emails. We have like a database for our women that unfortunately we are only 7% of women in Catalonia. So fortunately it's not as we want to be as large as we want the list, but we are increasing now. So yeah, mainly now these days with the Queen's Gambit, a lot of newspapers, magazines. Tomorrow I have to go to Catalan TV in live and yeah, we have a lot of support here. So it's a good moment to promote chess and women.
Yeah, I totally agree with Teresa. You really see now in the Netherlands as well that chess is really picking up, especially parents who see the Queen's Gambit and think, well, let our child and mostly daughter start playing chess. So that's really nice. Now it's very difficult, well, to keep them, to get them and keep them, because I see in the chat of Jennifer that work is not voluntary based, but mostly paid. Well, in the Netherlands is mostly voluntary based, so that's more difficult, and I think more countries have this difficulty. Well, I think there's a big challenge there, but big opportunities as well, because in the Netherlands also only 7.5% of all chess members are girls, so that has to be more in the future.
Can I ask if maybe any federation has set up anything specifically to reach out to girls that watch the series? Because we're thinking what a good way would be to find these people or to give them a chance, but we're not entirely sure how to reach out, because I think there is a lot of interest to questions like how to make sure that the first kind of contact works with the federation. Because we also, I mean, like, it's great that so many people Google and that so many we see, like, the more people go up and more people sign up, but I guess there is like a fear that if we don't pick this up now, then this is just going to die down again. And just because it is these are not people, I believe, that are looking for like clubs and are planning to join one straight away, especially because now there's a time when loads of the clubs are closed. So when they're restarting after Corona in 3 months, you know, the big hype might already be over. And people don't remember. So like the question is whether there's like a possibility to do anything at the moment to pick up these people. But yeah, we haven't figured out a good way yet. I was wondering if anyone else had like any good suggestions.
Yeah, absolutely agree with Lily. We have to make this access more easy. We have also a problem that in the schools, there are not like a bridge with the clubs. There is a very big problem. A lot of girls that are playing at the schools, but then we don't know why. They don't go to the clubs, maybe because it's not easy to find one, or so, yeah, for example, the workshop that we will do with this simultaneous and this debate, we are trying to open and to access to this woman that if they want, they can contact with federation, and we will give an advice. You have an ER club here, or you have on, and what we want to do also is promoting a free class for the beginners. That I think could be free and could be interesting.
So I have a question here in chat, which is because in another session I mentioned that in my university chess club, we do like a very proactive outreach. And so how can we do that without getting around data and privacy laws? Well, you see, Ireland's very small and I know all the female chess players. So when one of them does join university, I just sort of text them. So I guess that's kind of not very applicable for because obviously it's not possible to do that in bigger countries where you might not know them all personally. But I guess in terms of university outreach, it's just about finding the social media, I really think, because that's how we do our outreach to people who don't already play chess. You find what social media that all the age group you're targeting is on. And for me, with the girls I'm looking for, it's Instagram. We put up stories every week with different mate in one puzzles that are actually solvable for the girls with prizes involved. I mean, it's for guys and girls, but there's no experience required. And then when they do message us the answers, we kind of are very encouraging. If they don't get it, text them back. And then we have WhatsApps. And so then we'd be like, if you're interested in joining, here's our WhatsApp. And then we do a weekly Zoom call playing online. It's just university level stuff. But we have probably around 30% of our members are girls, and our beginners classes are nearly 50% because of this. So that's how we target. But again, it's a small university and it's not federation wise, so it's easier for us to do it. Okay, there are lots more questions here. Oh, Lily's putting in a link for some software. Thank you. As a primary school teacher, I would love to have a website to look at female chess players and my children, their biographies, motivational words, their favorite games and pivotal moments. Can you direct me to anything out there? Does anyone know of any websites as such at the moment? I'm not sure.
New Zealand Chess Federation, I once tumbled over that they had a page for historic players, so not their current players. And I know that some countries are currently doing it, but it's German speaking, but Austria is quite good with that at the moment with their own players. So in case of someone being interested to set up something similar, it's a nice place to look at what they're doing. But yeah, it's German speaking. And in New Zealand, as I'm not involved at all, but when I did some research on this, I at some point found a page where they had biographies and these kind of things for famous female chess players. Yeah.
In the Netherlands, we have the website of the Chess Queens. I will post the website in the chat. It's mostly in Dutch, but some things are in English already. But that's actually exactly what Harry is looking for. So if you use Google Translate, then it helps in any case. But I will post it.
We don't have a special website, but what we did is we publish a cards with the biography, Kaisa cards, of each woman, a famous woman also in the world and here in Spain, in Catalonia.
Okay, so we have another question here. Can you give more suggestions on how to attract more girls to our school chess club? I find the boys are attracted to competition, but not so much girls, and the club is too small to have a separate chess club. Just to start, before I throw this out to the panel, something I heard recently, which worked really well in schools, is just to leave chessboards out in the library. Now, I know at the moment with COVID, that might not be allowed, just to leave them there for anyone to play. But apparently when it wasn't girls having to come into a club and sort of into maybe a male dominated surrounding, but could actually just play a game in the library with another girl, they were much more likely to play, and then from there could progress on to the club. So that's something I heard. But if any of the panel or anyone at all has any ideas, throw it out to you.
I think for girls, the social aspect is very important, much more than for boys. Let every girl bring a few of her friends. I think that's the best start. But then you have to have a few girls in already, of course. But that works very well with girls. Is our well, we've seen that before, and I've seen it when I was a little girl as well.
Or I think was always a good idea if there's no capacity to have a very special club to just like keep it mixed, but every now and then just do an event for the girls together. So there's like some kind of bonding activity, these kind of things. So this is what we really often do. That we have like mixed events, but then everyone and now and then it doesn't have something big. It can be a movie night or just like I don't know, going for ice cream once a year or something like this is like a good event. And again, they can bring like a friend that doesn't play chess along just to like do this. So yeah, this might be a good idea as well.
I've just seen Adia has just joined there. Hello, if she wants to give us a few words, I know she's been doing a lot of work in the US. So if she'd like to give us a bit of an introduction into what she's been doing, that would be really great.
Hi, welcome everyone. It's great to see everybody here on a topic that is so near and dear in terms of just doing what we can to try to increase the number of girls in chess. And we definitely, I have to agree with some of the comments that I've heard so far in terms of just the importance of that social connection and bringing other girls in. I definitely have seen in clubs that I have run and started, things that I've started, that when you are able to have, even if it's just that one friend in the club, it makes such a difference. It makes such a difference, especially as they get older, I feel, but even when they're younger, but especially when we are getting to the middle school age, I think it becomes even more relevant in terms of having that one or two people in the club that you can actually connect with. So I definitely think, one thing that I stress in the club to girls and to the parents are teaching your friends, bringing your friends into the club. And I've found such great success with that. So much so that I've had some clubs where we've actually gotten to rates of 50% or sometimes even more girls than boys in the club, which is to me just amazing. But I really do think that a lot of that was sparked by bringing in friends, and so, and the beautiful thing with that is not only do they have that relationship with each other, but then they're also then encouraged to play with each other outside of chess club as well. So yeah, it's just extremely powerful, I think, extremely powerful and very relevant as they get to middle school age, especially.
Definitely some good points there.
Yeah, I want to mention that as Adia said, we have a club here in Catalonia in which 50% are women, and they are very close and they want to go for other tournaments, and they have made a very good atmosphere that in this moment are attracting other girls. So it's very, very, very interesting, this quorum, what makes to bring more and more girls.
Yes. Yeah. I also want to really just highlight the differences that can happen from when they're in elementary school to middle school. I had a young girl, for example, that I was working with when she was 7 years old. And at that age, for her, she didn't care that she was one of few boys. And she was one of the best in the school at the time and was completely fine, liked rumbling with the boys and playing with the boys. She left chess, and she became pretty good. She got to the top 100 in her age category at 7. Unfortunately, after a few years, after 2 years, she changed schools and ended up not continuing with chess. And just this summer, during COVID, I was able to actually bring her back in, draw her back into chess. And it was completely different. By this point now she's in 7th grade. And, you know, we saw the kids after Zoom camp going and trying to playing on their own, inviting the other kids. And, you know, I had a talk with her one day to see why she never would go with the other kids. And she said, there are no other girls, you know, there are no other girls. And so her view of it completely shifted. And since then, even with times, she's only gone times when there have been other girls who have been there. And so the importance and relevance of this also kind of shifts as they get older as well. I think becomes even more salient as they get to middle school.
Hi, can I just come in? Well, I was wondering whether, you know, I know it's really important for us. I know that girls put social aspects higher than boys, but I'm, you know, wondering how we can make the girls more competitive like the boys. You know, what do you guys think that how we can improve competitiveness amongst the girls? Because, you know, boys are very competitive. They don't always go, oh, I need a friend to go to this tournament. You know, they are very much more independent and much more competitive. So what do you guys think about? Do you have any?
I don't think girls are less competitive than boys. Just think they also need the social aspect, but they're not less competitive. Is my experience. I don't know how the others see that, but if I see a girl behind the board, she really wants to win.
I would agree with that. I don't think they're less competitive. I think the boys automatically have the social element because they have all the other boys there. So it's already there. And I think if it was female dominated, we might be having this reverse situation of trying to get boys' friends there so they keep playing. I've never, I mean, all the girls I know from playing chess, there's never been a lack of wanting to win.
I guess competitive is an individual streak characteristic, I guess. But yes, I've taught many young children, and most of my classes are full of boys. And whenever there are girls, they would only want to be sitting with the girl, or if there's one other girl, they would only want to be around the girl, and you know. And then also, I think that I have sensed that they weren't as competitive because the boys were much more upset when they lost, whereas a girl didn't seem as upset about the loss, you know? So in my experience, I felt that the girls sometimes weren't as competitive, but again, I think it is individual there, yeah.
I think it's very individual indeed, because if my 4-year-old daughter loses a game, then she's very angry.
Yeah.
Adia, go.
Yeah, I definitely think it's very individual, and you know, when you see the work that's been done with some of the all girls tournaments, you can really see the difference in some of the competitive behavior. The environment just even feels just very different in terms of it. You do see the competition and you see the social aspect all interacting nicely together with some of the all girls events that we have, some of the bigger all girls events that we have here in the US. And so I do think that when you see that, when you see these all girls events, you can really see that the competitive nature is really right on par with the boys, but adding that social aspect, or sometimes adding that that additional option for some all girls events, for some environments like that, really allow you to see, you know, for this to blossom and for them to get to that level of wanting to continue to thrive and be stronger within the chess world. So I do think that can help, you know, including both all girls events as well as mixed gender events within, you know, their array of exposure to competition, I think can make a difference. But having that balance and having both of them, I think, can be beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely agree with Blanca and Adia, because here we have every January, we have a special tournament in which they play by couples, one boy and one girl. And you play with your couple, have to be always mixed. And what we saw is when they play woman with woman, there is like another also, I don't want to say more competitive, but there is, because when I was under 12, here in Catalonia, we used to play separate, girls and boys. Now, 20 years before, we have mix, and now we have some girls that have won the mixed, boys and girls, and they are as equal, as competitive as boys, no? But what Adia mentioned, I think is good to have this mix, boys and girls, and also sometimes the direct competition. I think is very interesting, combine both, because I don't believe only girls. It's for me, it's no sense. But it's interesting, that combination, because maybe we are promoting like an environment or atmosphere that brings other girls, because we still have a percentage very low. So.
Okay, so we've got lots more questions from chat here. I'm just going to get through. So if you could, what would you say to advise a girl who's Muslim, who's shying away from playing chess online? Do you guys have any advice on girls who might be shy to get them playing?
Can you repeat that? Did you say who was Muslim, or did you say who was shying away?
They were both in the question. So what was here is, could you advise, what could you advise if a girl, and then it has brackets, Muslim, is shying to play online?
Well, I mean, for myself, I have a background in psychology, and to me, I always think about things in terms of antecedents, behaviors, and consequences. And so I would want to know a little more about why, she is shying away, to be able to really thoughtfully understand how what the problem is. There could be a number of reasons why she's shying away. Is she playing in person but not willing to play online? Has she encountered problems playing online? All these things. I actually typically advise parents to choose screen names that are gender free, because there are things that you can sometimes encounter online. But that, I think I personally would want to know a little more about why she's shying away from playing online. Is it a tech issue? Is it, a harassment issue? Is it a skills? Is it that she feels she needs to gain more skills? All of these. And then once you can think of the antecedents, then we could think of, okay, how we can proceed to try to give her the confidence that she needs to overcome that.
Maybe I can just jump in on this, because I really think this is a new problem in terms of having to need gender-free kind of names online, because I think with the current hype on Lichess and these kind of things, it got much more of a problem that there is actually messaging from people, and I'm not entirely sure how to tackle this, but for sure I on my private account got messages that I don't think are appropriate, in which I never had any problems before. And to me, it doesn't matter so much, but I wonder, for example, if this goes to the girls. And at least to my knowledge, there is no way of making groups invisible. So as soon as we have a women's girl group or a girls chess group, everyone can see that even people with gender neutral names that are in these groups are most likely checked by us to be females. So I don't know if any other federations have any experience with this, but I think this is a new problem that really changed on the websites, and that makes me personally feel very uncomfortable and slightly worried.
Yeah, this is a problem that I think I've definitely experienced, even with sort of online lessons and classes. There's certain like anonymity to being online, and you can send these messages. And I think it's something that these platforms actually need to work on themselves to make sure that you can report these messages.
Maybe people that do have a saying in this, but at least I haven't looked recently, but when I had problems with this, it wasn't possible. At least some websites like Lichess block single players from contacting you, which I thought was a major issue.
I'm fairly sure you can block players on Lichess now.
Okay, maybe it's possible now. Yeah. And I think this is also something where, especially us working with girls, should really try and push for to make these like safer spaces.
There is a setting on Lichess of kid mode that you can activate, which means no messages can be sent to you. But it also, yes, I think,
this is true, but it means we can't contact our player. Yeah. So we had issues with this because if we go for this, then we can't message any one of our players ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, it's something that on one level can be addressed from the playing sites, but, on the other level, yeah, I definitely, I have usernames that are gender free and ones that are not. And there is a difference in the way in which the general public interacts with the handle without knowing who you are. And so I definitely try to stress just gender neutral names. I think is a first step. Using the child, blocking the chat is a second step, especially for maybe younger ones, but it does then limit you. You then do have to work around the fact that you also cannot chat with them. But it's a double-edged sword. But even one negative interaction can completely alter, a young child's experience and view of chess. So it's definitely something that needs to be addressed.
And where again, I'm sure I have a really strong standing on this, but to me, the website should have a zero tolerance. So in terms of if someone messages me like this, I should be able to get their account blocked because this is the only way I can be sure they don't message one of my girls. Because I cannot see who else they message, right? But if the websites take it serious enough that I can make a complaint and be like, these are sexual inappropriate comments, and their accounts get blocked, to a certain degree, at least we have some power to stop these things. I honestly, maybe it's my own experience, but I really think this is a new thing with the chess things now being hyped or the websites being more popular. Like I played online for many years, never anything happened. But since it got so popular with the beginning of Corona, it's like really become a big thing. And I guess like also it's like one of the things, for example, people did message about streaming here and whether we should have podcasts. I think it's the same. Like it's great that chess is now so much on Twitch and that there's a lot of chess streaming, but I think the atmosphere in the chat is really often extremely problematic. And I'm not sure I would recommend it to any of the kids because it's really, and even during tournaments, we had tournaments where we had to block our chat, the group chat for the tournament pages, because I need someone to make sure that the chats are fine. So yeah, these things I think are things we have to keep in mind because I really think if this happens to people, we'll lose them again.
Okay, and we've just a follow-up message from Chandra there about Chess24. So I'll definitely be happy to email and discuss further with you after that because that would be really, really great. But moving on, there are loads of questions here, so we're just getting to them. But is an idea to create international chess stream with 3 to 5 women streaming once a week? Then the capacity isn't too much a problem. Does anyone have any thoughts on something like this? I know there are streams. There's streams by women all the time. And there's educational streams by women. I know with the World Chess Schools every week with 3 women doing it weekly. But are there any other initiatives people know of or could start?
there is in New York State, we have the Unruly Queens. Adia, you might have heard about the Unruly Queens. Mm-hmm. And they have that grant this year from the US Chess Federation. And they are, you know, 4 girls between the ages of 16 and nearly 17, 18. And they're streaming. They had high hopes to stream sort of every day where on the weekends. And they've now sort of set it back a little bit. And it started out with the pandemic, and they have a tournament, they have an educational component, they're running different kinds of tournaments on that day. They either have a mixed tournament or a single tournament, and they're connecting girls. And I hope that they continue doing it, or they've created a group that will take over that role if they decide not to do it. So I think things like this are going to appear. The more and more the opportunities are. And I think that's all positive. I think having the sense of having that community built in, whether you have girl-only tournaments, where you have mixed tournaments, the more events you have and you understand that girls are going to be there, the stronger it is. I mean, Adia, you come to the New York State Girls, that's sort of grown, right? It was like, what, 100 girls where we started out, and now we're up to 350, and the same with the Girl Nationals. But you need to have both events, and you need to have that community feel in there, whether it's a girl being a tournament director, an organizer, the whole area of the chess community, because we really are one family, whether we're on a platform, whether we're organizing something. I mean, one thing about Chess Kids that I really like, I like everything about all the platforms, and I use it heavily in my classroom. They can communicate with each other where they give them thumbs up, and it's all positive. And we'll have kids ask us, you know, why do we have this? And then we'll talk about what we say. And most of them, and these are the kids between the ages of 5 and 7, they understand that how you talk to somebody is part of chess, how you express yourself, how our behavior is. And most teachers, right, Adia, we're installing that in there. So that's actually a really nice feature that we're starting a younger chess community now because of Chess Kids to use that. So when they go on to other platforms, that is the expectation of behavior.
Very true.
It seems very quiet in here.
I think, you know, something that, you know, Sophia pointed out that it's so relevant, I think, as well, is the community and pulling young girls into the community in terms of involvement. You know, the work with Unruly Queens is really just amazing because these are young girls that other young girls can relate to who are becoming involved. And with the attrition rate that happens, you know, from middle school to high school and college, you know, the more that we can do to have girls as they get older become really enmeshed and involved within the community, I think the likelihood that they also continue to stay involved as they continue on into their careers or, you know, and as they get older. So it's really highlights, I think, something that is a positive way to, you know, something positive to reinforce in terms of the involvement of college age, high school age girls within organizing events in the community, within the chess community.
Yeah, no, definitely. And we have another point here just to keep the discussion moving on from Bianca about role models. And if I know she might have to leave soon, but if she wants to briefly speak about this before so.
Yeah, I think one of the topics for girls chess, which hasn't been mentioned or only briefly mentioned, is role models. I think for girls like a Beth Harmon or for me it was Judith Polgar growing up, it's very important to have a role model to to see someone who looks like yourself, that, oh, I can be that, like in the US now with the female vice president, for example, like this. We also need role models in chess. So I think that's a big part as well, and I'm curious how other countries tackle that one.
Well, I can definitely speak for some of the initiatives that we see here in the US that are just, I think, amazing in terms of display and representation. And so, for example, with the Girls Club Room that Jennifer Shahade runs, each week, you have different people, different women, prominent women within the chess world who come and, basically get to address the girls. And, what's really amazing is just putting it on that platform and, displaying the broad range of representation that we have within the chess community. Really making an emphasis to try to display the range. I think when you have these open forums where you're able to address a large number of girls, I think the more that you can do to present them with young ladies and more and older ladies within the community, I think it really can help to have to make a difference. You never know who someone is going to connect with. So I think the importance of really attempting to expose young girls to a range of role models is important because representation does matter.
Mm-hmm. Maybe I can jump in with this as well, because I think role models are incredibly important, but I think sometimes we focus too much with the role models on the very top chess players. Mm. For sure, they're important, but I think if you talk to a lot of girls, it's just like the local coach they have or something like this. So for example, like, I don't know, I used to have a position in like the board of my federation, but I'm sure no one knew who I was. Whereas like the little girls, if you ask them about like someone that does the chess training every day, they admire. Or if, for example, even older girls, like so often older girls that don't have any official role are the people that the younger girls really look up to. And I think this is something we should try and work on, just because then we have much, much more people we can use as role models, right? Because there's only very few top players. And actually one event we have in Germany for this, which I think has been quite successful, is that we don't think that coaches have to be like incredibly strong chess players a lot of the time, especially for the younger ones. So what we're doing is we have like a 2-part weekend where there's like one part for a theoretical part and one time for a practical part. And we teach girls between like 14 and like, I mean, there's no top age, but we basically want to help girls not to get a proper training license, because that's a lot of work, but it's just like a 2-time session. And we're trying to get, first of all, keep girls that are between like, I don't know, 14 and 20, because these are a lot of the girls we leave. So we try to get them become from players to become more into the coaching role. And we also try to create like role models like this. So later on, they can teach their own group. And actually, I think this is one of the events, or like one of the things we do, which has been quite successful, because we train some of the coaches which are now feeling more confident. And I think also it's good for the girls, because a lot of the women are not, they feel they're not strong enough players to start teaching girls. But if you give them the confidence and you just show them in 2 sessions, it's okay, and we can help them, I think it's very useful. Or like, as I said, get the older girls involved and let them do something with younger girls. I think these are some of the groups we really underestimate.
Yeah, a very, very good point. I know that, so I think, Sophia, you're involved with a group called Girls to Grandmasters, which I think does an amazing job. Maybe you can talk a little bit about, Sophia, amazing job of providing, that role model aspect with younger girls actually working with, older girls actually working with younger girls, right?
Yeah, it's, I wish some of them were here today. But unfortunately, one of the Kim McVeigh, she had a death in the family, and I know she would want to be here. But Girls to Grandmasters really is also Carsten McVeigh and Nicole Maffeo. And they're two expert master level players, but they're in the professional world. And they wanted to give back the roles that to be peer leaders, and they weren't what I call superstar players, but they were still very, very strong. But the way it was able to connect them with in the business world, and having any kind of role model or a peer leader, and being able to talk to that person and being in sort of like what you call a club setting. And one thing in the US, which is slightly different than Europe, is we really don't have so many clubs. Club is our disconnect. If Chess24 is listening, we lack what we call the club atmosphere. Like in New York City, we only have one club. But so Girls to Grandmasters was looking for a place to meet and have all the girls at that time meet in person. And hopefully they can also do it online as well. But they enjoyed that social interaction where the girls just came together, talked about chess. Jennifer, I think you came many times. And Adir, I think, were you there sometimes? I think, yeah. And it was that connection that we were sort of one community. We came from different schools, but we could actually get together as well. And I think Girls to Grandmasters is in its early role, and hopefully it will continue on. So.
Yeah, I want to make a point about something like this as well, which I think where online really comes in is I mean, the US has it does actually have quite a lot of girls playing, but somewhere like Ireland, which is very small, not many players, we all live very far apart. So we tried to do like a centralized club once, but finding a location we could all travel to was impossible. It was 2 hours away for everyone. So it didn't work. But now with online, this just isn't a problem. So you can all just log on and have actually a place where all girls can meet. So I think that's something really valuable about online with girls chess, which may not apply to all chess because clubs are, they're easier to run when there are more people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, COVID has really been a game changer and just really highlighting the how forcing us to utilize more of the online tools, which really highlight how much of a benefit it actually can be. And I really do feel within chess and some of the differences in numbers in terms of gender, that utilizing the online tools can really help us to bring numbers together. Prior to COVID, I had run some initiatives online with with women and girls in terms of study groups, and really being able to attract girls from different states and even sometimes from different countries. And it really just opens up the catchment area, and it's so important because within any individual club that you might go to, you might just have a handful of women or girls that attend. And so now with bringing in the online, utilizing the technology to its fullest, you're actually able to get that same interaction and impact so many more girls and women, and really just bring us all together within the same room. So it's amazing.
I just turned my camera on again for a bit. I spoke at the beginning of the session, and I was able to listen to some of the recent conversation, and I just I'm so excited about everyone's enthusiasm. So thanks again for hosting this, Alice.
Thank you for coming. It's been a pleasure to have you in this conversation. It's exciting to get conversations like this going. Something more I just wanted to, because I know we only have 15 minutes left now, but I'm sure, lots of people have come here today and they'll be thinking how to set this up in their own countries. So if any of your projects I know lots of people doing international things with Lily, you are organizing international tournaments. how would you sort of advise people to either get in touch and set up their own teams and to get things going themselves?
Ooh, it's complicated. I think actually since last time I'm not even actually have an official position in my federation anymore because I really have to focus a bit on my studies. But I think like just reaching out, if you see that big tournaments happen before, like reaching out to people. And I think the good thing is it's quite connected in terms of, if I'm not the person you have to speak to, I probably can get you in contact with someone that knows or someone that might know after. So yeah, just reach out to people. I think it would be still good, for example, to have like an international list, for example, with all the representatives, because I struggled, for example, when I set up this tournament myself, that I could not reach a lot of the federations because I guess sometimes you just email the wrong people. I also had troubles because I guess like once you go to different countries, the websites are just all in their native language. So finding the email address of a person in Spain representative for women's chess, I really struggled with. And in the end, I just had to find someone that spoke the language just to get me an email address. So I think if there's something, for example, like FIDE or the ECU or someone could do like even like a list of people in each country would be so useful, especially with these online tournaments now being able, or for example, with the lead chess groups of the countries, that would also be useful. So I guess it's like more an appeal to people to look, or where I don't think it's my job, but where I think the bigger federations have to come in and could be really, really useful.
Mm-hmm. That definitely, like a big email list, that is definitely something I'm gonna think about and try to work on, because if we could get like a representative, just a list of them maybe on the ECU website, that could be great for creating connections.
Alice, I have a quick question. In the earlier meeting with the gender gap, I missed the start of where the study that one of the contributors, the study was done. And was it the FIDE list that the study was done on, the FIDE rating list, looking at that? Do you remember?
Oh, Jose's study. He never actually said where he got it from, but I would have assumed it was the FIDE list, because he said it was including inactive players.
Yeah, that sounds, because that's why I wanted to ask that question, was because a lot of US players, we don't have so much FIDE rated, takes us a lot longer to get our girls to get FIDE lists, FIDE ratings, because we have our own rating list. Mm-hmm. So I think our numbers might be slightly askew when I saw his chart, because we do have, I was looking at the percentages, it is getting much, much higher, especially in the last 5 years, because of our activity across the board in girl-only events, as well as reaching out to the community and making programming happen. So one thing that the US Chess Federation has done, as Jen is here today, they've really set the mark in having someone do complete programming. And that, I think, is key. And looking at the different models that different federations have done, will they work? And sharing that model and expanding that model. So yeah, communication is key of how we set these up. And I think what I learned last year, Alice, is the your study that you did, that was very, very informative of what each federation around the EU is doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and an interesting point you raised about the FIDE rating list, because I know when I tried to do my research, I didn't want to use the FIDE rating list because you are missing out on a huge amount of people who aren't yet FIDE rated. So, but then the problem was reaching out to countries being like, what is your percentage of women playing? They didn't have the figures. So there's limitations to both sets, which is why I understood going with the FIDE can be useful, because then you have a definitive amount. But then you're missing so many. But trying to actually find out how many, I found the figures I was getting, I wasn't confident with them because I was getting estimates from a lot of countries. So I think something that countries can really start doing is keeping reliable figures, because then you can use your projects and track your data. And it's great that the US have, they know how many women they're playing, they know the percentage, and they can pull out these figures.
Yeah, I totally agree. Go ahead, Sophia.
I was going to say maybe the platforms could help a little bit here, because they have data. I mean, if people want to say what gender they are, non-gender, and what they're playing, and keep track of that too.
I've noticed that I've talked to chess.com about this, and I think maybe it relates to some kind of privacy laws, but they don't code for gender specifically. But lately in interviews related to the Queen's Gambit, they expressed it to me as that they have enough confidence in the trends that they can speak to the number of women, but they can't give like exact figures, because when you sign up for chess.com, you're not really supposed to click a box, male or female. So yeah, that really gives US chess a very, very big advantage. And it does worry me a little bit, this trend where, because I guess we're seeing beyond the gender binary, which is great. But if that means that people don't mention whether they're male or female and we can't collect data and act accordingly, then that could be like a negative of like an overall positive trend. So
yeah, there's always pros and cons in whatever we do, and a cause and effect. So we want something hopefully in the middle, where, such as I noticed with US Chess, when we upgraded the website, you have many, you can choose to put in whatever you want. So I think having the options is maybe the way to go. So
I agree. So we have basically male, female, non-binary, or prefer not to say. Those are like the 4 options, which I think is great. And so we still can get those female members. And generally all of our events for women are very inclusive, in that anyone who identifies as a female or identifies as non-binary is more than welcome. So I think we can tackle both things at the same time, trying to be inclusive to the idea that gender is not on a straight binary, but also that we need to continue to encourage girls and women in chess. And we need data for that.
So I've just seen another thing in the chat here to finish up on, is someone's an idea about case of cards, which are, for those who don't know the game, they're top trumps, and it is based on a deck of 30 cards on any topic, from cars to cartoons and anything in between, and to create something like that with women in chess. So what do people, that's an interesting idea.
The idea already been executed? It has. It's in Generation, right? Because I've seen like on Twitter a bunch of like cards, right, for Kaiser Chess. Is that your project, Sanjoy?
It was actually Teresa that said the Kaiser cards were out, but Top Trumps is really popular with kids, because basically, it doesn't matter what the topic is, but the winner is the person that wins all the cards. So it's not just that they're collectibles. It's a great way of having people sort of get familiar with the heroes, and learn a few facts about them, but also sort of have something that they can interact with and play with their friends over. So it's all a bit nebulous at the moment, because literally I had the idea 10 minutes ago, but we'll see if it is a starter.
Well,
I think there is sorry.
And I will definitely say I think it would be extremely popular in terms of, I know that they currently have cards, for example, for the world champions, and I use those in my classroom. The kids love them. The kids absolutely love them. So, I definitely think that that's, a home run idea right there.
Sorry, I just wanted to say, I think we already have a version in Germany. I've never actually seen it, but not for female chess players. I'm not sure any female chess player actually made it in the pack, to be honest.
Yeah, well, this was my thinking. I mean, for example, sort of when Chess24 recently did a video series of the top 100 players, we sort of hoped that Judith Polgar would get into that top 50, not obviously by objective ELO rating, but contribution to the game. But there are so many heroes here, not just those who have the objective strength, but people that are influencers, the Alexandra Botezes of this world. And, I've included Jen on my list as well, because, she's a really iconic figure, in chess in general. But to do that just for female chess players and not have it as a female equivalent of something that we do already for the men, I think could be really powerful, particularly because you could tailor the styling of the cards to make them something that would be attractive,
Here in Catalonia, with these Caixa cards, we also have not only the top players like Anna Madnace or other that are listing here also. We also have, for example, a member of our board that she has done a lot for chess. So it's very interesting to include. Even she don't have too much elo. She has done a lot, so it's not only by playing, it's also what she has contributed.
Okay,
I've just seen the Twitter link to the Caixa cards. Like all good ideas, it wasn't mine first by the looks of things. They look really excellent, so I'll check those out and see if there's still something we can do in that space. But I noticed that they're both men and women, so maybe we can do something that's based on purely female chess players.
Okay, so it's actually coming up to...
I saw a lot of cards for female players in the Caixa cards. Huga influencers, not just the top players like the musician and artist Huga. So that's why I wasn't sure. I thought there was quite a lot of women in that group, but maybe there should be more. Yeah, always. There's always people that are neglected for sure.
These are not the ones I've been talking about though, so maybe that's where the difference comes from.
I see. Okay. I got confused because it had a similar name, I guess.
Okay, so it's nearly coming to half now where unfortunately this meeting is ending. So I just wanted to thank everyone for coming, for everyone who asked questions, and especially the panelists who came and gave us so many like amazing insights into what they've been doing. So yeah, hopefully everyone's really inspired to go do some women's online chess projects now. And yeah, so thank you everyone for coming today.